Hello, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. It's Kate Richburg, and it is time for our live broadcast here at beadshop.com. It is Wednesday, October 21st, if you're watching this live. So it's great to have all of you all here today. I know that you are eagerly anticipating Miss Emily Miller to come on and teach us this diagonal peyote. I know I am also eagerly anticipating it. So it is great to have everybody here. It looks like everybody's jumping on. It's awesome to have you all. I just wanted to mention before we get started that you can find us here at beadshop.com on a lot of different social outlets. We've got us here at Instagram at beadshop.com. You can go right to the Bead table, which is our Facebook group. We'd love to see you over there. You do need to answer the questions so that we know that you're a real person, and we'll be glad to let you in over there to join us. And then you can also subscribe to our beadshop.com YouTube channel. And we'd love it if you would subscribe over there and give us a follow. It would be great to have those followers over there. It'd be great. And of course, you can find all of the information on the project and products from today's broadcast on our website. So if you want to sign up for our newsletter, you can get all of the latest discounts, giveaways, new product, business going on, all kinds of cool stuff. And last but not least, I'm going to put this, it's going to come right over my face, but I'll show you this right now. We've got coming up the Great Bead Extravaganza. I love that. Hosted by Sarah Ayler of Softflex and Andrew Thornton of Allegory Gallery. They put their pretty little heads together, and we are part of this amazing kind of live Facebook thing that's going to be happening. I know a lot of you already are a part of the Great Bead Extravaganza. You went over and you joined the group over there. So it's on Facebook. It's going to be Facebook centric, Facebook only. So jump on over the Great Bead Extravaganza. It's a group. They'll let you in. And then all 3 days, November 6th through 8th, back to back, people are doing demos from all over the place. There's a great, great lineup. I'm smack dab in the middle on November 7th at noon Pacific time. So we'll send out a reminder in our newsletter. Okay, but I'm really excited to be a part of that. But it's great to have everybody here. I can see that everybody's jumping on. Of course, we've got Gita over on Facebook commenting as beadshop.com. And I believe Janice is here, I guess, over on our YouTube doing some linking and stuff like that as well. So I don't know if you guys are ready, but I'm super ready. And Emily, it looks like you're ready. So I'm going to add Emily right into the stream here. And let's get started and talk this out there. How about we do this? That looks so professional, right? Hey, Em.
Hi, Kate. Hi, everybody. How are you?
It's great to have you.
It's nice to be here. I have to tell you that I wear computer glasses, so I'm going to change my glasses because I can't see very sharply what's going on, and it irritates me. So hold on a second. I'll put on my studious, sexy secretary outfit.
There you are. That's perfect.
And
all right.
It's so much better. I was struggling while I was waiting for you guys to come on. I thought it would be weird if I took my glasses right off and changed them. It would be some disconcerting thing happening in the middle.
Well, I got you. I got you.
Great to see you guys. Yeah. And I'm going to flip back and forth to Facebook too, because I can watch over there with the sound off.
Right.
And see I can kind of see what's going on. So nice.
Well, we have a bunch of hellos. We've got Gita saying hey to you, and we've got Kim saying hey to you. And I wanted to give a shout out, our friend Sarah. Sarah always watched with her old man cat, Sam. And Sam was my biggest fan. I don't know, her cat, Sam. And I know a lot of you guys watch with your pets, but Sam crossed over, so we're thinking about you. We're thinking about you, Miss Sarah. So thanks for joining us today.
And for sure.
We've got, what's that?
Sam is still with us in spirit.
What was that, Em? He is. He's in that great beading table up in the sky.
Yeah. Right on the mat.
We've got Mary. Right, laying right on the beading mat, exactly. We've got Mary Ellen Siegel. Mary Ellen, you're there. And I want to also give Mary Ellen a shout out. She does this really cool, and Mary Ellen, feel free to add it into your chat if you have the link. You do a great Facebook group that talks about a lot of different online teaching resources. Whoops. My headset fell out. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I was being too vigorous. My headset just came out. But she does a lot of resources that all of the teachers who teach online and do all these free broadcasts. So it's awesome. It's all on Facebook. So Mary Ellen, drop it into the chat if you'd like to do that. It's really awesome how you share that. And then you guys can find the Great Bead Extravaganza. You just go to look for groups, and it's the Great Bead Extravaganza there. Okay.
I'll have to go join that.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really fun. It's going to be really fun, I think, to see it. I'm going to watch it all weekend. That's the weekend. Oh, I need to actually close. Hey, Krista, will you close that door? Because it's starting to get loud now. There we go. All right. Of course, the road work starts today. Right on time. Right on time. So I'm sorry if it's a little loud. But that whole weekend of the Great Bead Extravaganza, I think, is going to be really super fun. I'm going to be doing a little social distance vacationing with my mom. So we're going to be watching it a lot. And she's actually going to be on with me when I do the broadcast. It's going to be fun. And I don't see Gwenda up on here yet, but I'm sure she'll jump on soon. But anyway, so hello. It's great to have all of you guys here. And just for reference in the future, if you aren't watching these live, we do a little chit chat and we say hello to everybody as they jump on. But if you're watching this on the replay, you can always just fast forward through this conviviality that we have here and get right to the heart of the matter. So I think we should probably do that now. What do you reckon, Em?
I think it's time, Kate.
All right. So I'm going to add your demo camera.
All right.
So if you want to swing that guy.
Before you add my demo camera in.
Oh, okay, sure.
I had a thought this week because I put my ballot in the mail last week and got my confirmation that it got counted. I think, and I saved my little sticker, my I voted sticker. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to make a loom work graph for this. And
that'd be awesome.
I'll put it up on the group.
Yeah.
I think it would be kind of a fun little pin to make. Maybe we'll sew it down on some felt or something, or ultra suede, and put a pin back on it. But you know, I love these little stickers, and I always feel very good about voting. And this year is a very important vote. But I thought it would be a really fun thing to graph.
Definitely.
I'll do a little process series of how I do it.
So that'd be fun. Over on the bead table.
Just use it, the voted one off.
And
that.
You can also kind of jump off that idea and graph. I mean, you've got so many great graphs, so you can do all kinds of fun things with with your graphs. Yeah, that's awesome.
You can hand color in those graphs, but you can also take that file or do it at home if you have it. Copy it onto plastic, onto clear plastic sheets that you can get at the office supply store, and then lay the sheet over the illustration that you want to graph, and it automatically graphs it for you.
Oh yeah, and then fill it in. Oh, that's that's a great idea, right?
And
so you can get those printable clear sheets. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice when you have curves, you gotta go in and manually sort of sort it out and fix it. But I'll do a little process.
Oh, that'd be really cool. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah, I thought it would be really fun. That's why I wore it today, because I wanted to remember to talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and add your demo table to the stream.
Do it.
And there we go. Let me rearrange these right here. So bear with me, everybody, when we do this. Alrighty. So thanks, everybody, for your feedback last time. We certainly listened to it. We're always improving. So we're getting better at all of this multi-person, multi-camera shoot. So
it's taking a village, Kate.
I'm telling you, it has been. So, and I wanted to give a big shout out to a lot of this. I know a lot of you watch our buddy Francesca Watson over at the Makery. You know, Francesca, I'm part of this instructor group that meets on Facebook virtually. We meet every week. We talk about challenges about teaching online and stuff like that. And that's something that Francesca Watson headed up that group along with Charles Lutenbrain and a few other of us instructors. And it's really grown, and it's really a great, I owe her a debt of gratitude, 110%, because navigating all of this new stuff has been up that group a little bit of a challenge. Whoops, I got a little bit of feedback. Are we back okay?
I think that was me, Kate. Sorry.
Okay.
I flipped over to Facebook and the mute was not on that.
Oh, okay. Great. Just making sure. But anyway, a big shout out and a big thank you over to Francesca over at the Makery. And you can follow her on Facebook. She's doing some really amazing instruction over there. And I know a lot of you already watch her. So so a big thank you to Francesca for that. So, all right. So Em, you're doing today, if you go on to beadshop.com, you guys, it's the diagonal peyote leaf. And there's a really great handout that Emily did for us, and it's all there, including charts, which you're going to share with us. And it's also, you've got both of those colorways. One's called green leaf and one is called autumn leaf. And we're going to be playing around with that. But Emily, talk us through about what was our idea behind doing this this project, right?
You know, I think there were a number of folks on the Bead group who were either struggling with or interested in doing diagonal peyote. And, you know, you and I talked about this stuff kind of back in June or something.
Right. Yeah.
You got to know that to put something like this together, it takes like 6 months. And I said, well, but first I want to do odd count peyote because there's a weird turn and I want everybody to get comfortable with that weird turn, because diagonal peyote has 2 weird turns. So
perfect.
It's not,
so we practiced our 1. We're ready for 2.
It's perfect. It's perfect. And it's, I have to say that this was something that I had played with at some point in my seed beading career and took a class with Hyde Peterson and kind of mucked around with it a little bit. And I kind of put it aside. It didn't resonate with me for whatever reason. And so I had to sort of sit down and put myself through the paces again. Which is a bad thing. You know, we all have to relearn things. Sometimes you kind of walk away from a computer program, or you don't sew garments for 5 or 6 years, and you have to kind of sit down and do it again.
Right, rethink it, right?
Yeah, and kind of re-familiarize yourself with it. So I did that, and that seemed to go really smoothly. And then as we were getting closer to the broadcast date and I was working on the chart, I spent like 3 late nights up really late for me, like midnight or 1 o'clock, redoing this chart and trying to sort it. And Gita sent me something she had questions about, and I said, that's cool, but I can't take it on right now. I got to get this done. And literally on Friday, I had text Kate and say, you know, it's kicking my butt. I'll have it for you on Monday. And I went on my Monday morning dog walk, and I still had a couple things I wanted to work through. And so I did while I was walking the dogs, but it was really possibly one of the hardest charts I've ever made. And I did my best. So,
well, it's super exciting. I really love your handouts are always so super clear. So
Well, I hope
Thank
so.
you.
And
Thank you for doing
one of the
that.
things that's funny about this diagonal peyote is that it's only weird at the turns.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else happens naturally. You know how to peyote stitch, pick up a bead,
Mm-hmm.
skip a bead, go through the next bead. All that's the same. But the turns, because what we're doing is we're taking something that's typically stitched horizontally, right, back and forth, and we're really kind of stitching up and down now. And
Mm-hmm.
as we go up and down, the rows are getting shorter at the bottom and longer at
Mm-hmm.
the top. And that's what's pushing it off to the diagonal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm right-handed, so everything for me works from left to right. If you're left-handed, you're just going to be working
Mm-hmm.
right to left, and it's the same. This is one of the few
Mm-hmm.
times where, with peyote stitch, I say flip it over, because it does actually, we're making two halves of a leaf, which aren't quite mirror images, because our base rows that we stitch with the first beads that we pick up, those are actually going to be that row 1 and 2. They're going to be the center of the leaf, the center
Mm-hmm.
point. So when we go to stitch that second half, it's going to be the same, sort of. So that's where diagonal peyote stitch gets a little odd.
It gets a little funny. Okay.
That being said, there are a
So shall
ton
we go
of
down?
for
Shall we go down to?
sure.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I was
whenever
going
you're
to
ready.
move that center. There we go.
Yep, do it. That being said, diagonal peyote has a ton of it. It offers us a bunch of opportunities. So this is the earring plan that I had for you, was to make these kind of sculptural leaf shapes, which I think are really pretty. I did not put a center vein down the middle, which could be
Mm-hmm.
done, and we'll talk about it on Friday. It's something you can do if you choose. But I thought for these, they look really nice, kind of keeping them kind of simple and the focus on the
Mm-hmm.
color. That's the
And
green link.
I should mention this is a 2-part broadcast. So you're
Yes,
going to be
we'll be
back
back on
on
Friday.
Friday. So we're going to work on part 1 today, and then we'll be back for part 2 on Friday.
Here's the second colorway.
I love that. I have that one on the desk in front of me.
Do you? It's very pretty, and they're both I think kind of lovely and subtle. It would also
Mm-hmm.
be fun to make a bunch of these and stagger them on the end of a lariat of beads as
Mm-hmm.
the end kind of tassel. I think that would look really cool. You know.
Oh,
So they
definitely.
don't have to just be earrings. You could actually use them in a couple of different ways. They would
Right,
make
like
it
a lariat or a centerpiece or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
diagonal peyote also gives us some opportunities to do other things. In past programs, I've talked about peyote stitch a having a horizontal, or I'm sorry, a vertical flexibility. It actually curves around itself, so you can make a tube, which then is very stiff. And brick stitch folds the other way on the horizontal. Diagonal peyote actually folds either way, which is kind of cool. This is just a little sample that I was kind of working on, just with some very contrasting colors, so it was easy to see. And I'm actually thinking I'm going to make a pair of these and close them at the top here. So that
Would you move that a little more center, Em, just
Sure.
so we can? There we go.
I'm going to close this as a little loop, and that's actually going to get a jump ring at the top. And it's going to be an earring.
Yeah, that'll look
really
like a cute little sculptural.
And you know what this reminds me of?
piece.
It really reminds me of when Brittany does
her
the simple what is this
her half hitch or her lark's head half hitch.
It kind of reminds me of that in its looks, or kind of like the friendship bracelets
right
kind of stitch. It kind of reminds me of that as well. So I actually think this would make a really pretty bracelet or ribbon necklace. You could do a long piece of this that you'd not loop in the front and have some leaves at the end of it if you wanted, or just some pretty dangly tassely beads. But it really makes it pretty flexible in every direction, almost as flexible as right angle weave, almost as fabric-like as right angle weave. Okay. So the two odd turns and how we're going to accomplish this. This is the same pattern as you would see in this piece. Okay. it's just half. There would be another half on the other side. These look pretty dramatically different in different types, different shapes and sizes of beads. And this is a great place to use the true twos that we used at the bottom here as embellishment and at the inner top. I didn't use that in this sample. This is just all size 11 beads. You could use true twos. You could use eighths. We could even use the smallest of the shadows. We could use gemstone beads. There's a bunch of options that we could do with this to really gussy it up and push that interest level up a little bit if you wanted. But this is a pretty straightforward thing. It's just those turns that get you kind of wonky. So I wanted to do this just on paper first, briefly. And what I thought would be easiest as far as charting would be, Kate, if you want to pull back a little bit on this, or do I need to pull back?
No, you need to. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I don't.
That's all right.
You have the power.
Oh, it's dizzying.
People are also saying, Emily, that that piece that you made would make a great veil.
Oh, it would. Turn the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. And the sample that you're going to be making, you're going to use that blue and white, so it'll be really easy for people to see, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you can turn it this way and make it into a veil for sure. Yeah, it would make a lovely one. It is asymmetrical, so just don't freak out, you know. This is not it's not symmetrical on both edges.
Right, but that's all the cooler, I think.
Yeah, and that's part of diagonal peyote. It's a little different. So I wanted to walk through the handout, and I decided not to do a drawable graph. And mostly because this really kicked my butt, but also diagonal peyote, doing a leaf out of diagonal peyote is only one thing that you could do with it. So doing doing a graph like I have done in the past for brick stitch and things like that, it kind of leaves you in a funny place. I don't want to restrict your options at all. Okay. I want you to feel like you have lots of options. So we're going to start with about 1.5 yards of thread. This is the thread we're going to use for both sides. So in this case, we're going to center the stopper bead in the middle of the thread. Okay. And you're going to stitch through it like you do normally, being careful not to split the thread. Since we have to remove that stopper bead and use the leftover thread, the other half of the thread for this work. Trust me, 1.5 yards is plenty. If you're feeling really scared about that, do 2 yards, but that's all you're ever going to need for this. So your thread's coming through this stopper bead, coming out, going around again, and back through and coming out. And then we're going to add 14 beads. 1, 2, 3. And the 14 beads we're going to alternate. And the colorways are very simple this time because the difficulty of this stitch doesn't need to be any more complicated. If you want this to be more complicated, my next one's going to be an ombre from dark to light.
Oh, that'll be real pretty.
Very exciting. You're certainly welcome to make it more complicated, but don't come crying to me when you have that. Okay. So 14 beads alternating. These are going to be our first 2 rows. Okay. So remember, peyote stitch on the diagonal. These first 2 rows is what this strip of beads goes into, this line of beads. So our first 2 turns, first turn we're going to do is at the bottom, and this is going to be the center point of our leaf. Okay. So what we have here is our stopper bead. We have our first 2 rows of beads. And I was thinking about Kim Galeas when I was doing this, because Kim and I talked about doing some illustrating. And I know she's got difficulties with not having this program that Kate and I really like a lot for handouts. And it's really a good one. I also came up with a new plan, this handout. These X beads with a little X inside, these are beads that are added at each turn. So these are the beads that are new to this row. Okay. Normally when we make a turn in odd count peyote or the first turn in even count, we would just pick up 1 bead and stitch through, skip a bead and stitch through the next bead. So in this case, for this first turn, we're going to pick up 2 beads. This would be a 2 millimeter, and this is going to be a 4506. Okay, we're going to continue skipping that low bead, picking up, going through next bead, pick up, skip, go through, peyoteing our way merrily along, right back up, coming out again. Really, this is bead number 1 here. And I did consider numbering these beads, but it seemed to get a little busy, so it was a thought. I did not do it. Okay. Remember that stopper bead is not any count. It's just there telling you where things are. And really what's happening here is we're going down one side and up the other. Okay. So the next row that we're going to do is not going to have an increase or an increase. So typically these rows are going to have an increase and a decrease on each row, on each end. And that'll allow us to have that diagonal moving away up and to the right.
So it's kind of like, if there's any knitters out there, it's kind of like when you decrease at the beginning of a row and increase at the end of the row. That's like when you're knitting a diagonal. It's the same kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And these first couple rows, of course, are the center of the leaf. So these first 1, 2, 3 rows, they have the center piece put in, but there's no other increasing at the top. So I typically hold my peyote stitch when I'm working it. I hold it kind of on a diagonal for myself in my left hand, and my row kind of goes across this way. And I stitch one way and then stitch the other, and stitch one way and stitch the other. And I don't usually flip it over for that. With this particular stitch, you'll find, I think, that you'll hold it more vertically, which is a little different, and you'll be working yourself up and down, and that will allow you to have that access to all the beads. So the next row we're going to do is this row here. And this is going to be all in the 4215s, and it's going to be 6 beads. Okay. So we're going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 coming out here. And we're going to make that same turn with 2 beads. So like we did in step 2, we're going to add a 2 millimeter bead and a 4506. Okay. So there's going to be a bead here and a bead here. Okay. Now, one of the things that's also kind of nice about kind of cooling our jets a little bit on the number of beads and types of beads is that each bead row is only going to have 1 color of bead. And so that's pretty easy. You know, if you feel like you're getting stuck or you're having a lot of mistakes, one thing you can actually do is between each row, lay out the beads that you're going to use next in a row. So you have no choice but to pick up the right ones. And you've already made that choice and decision. So we're going to come down to the bottom and we're going to add that 2 millimeter and the 4506, and then turning, skipping this bead, passing through that one, and go ahead and work our way back up to the top. So here's where we get a funky turn, okay? And it's going to feel super awkward the first time you do it, and it's okay. It may even feel a little bit loose. Do your best when you are down in the midst of this row to pull a little firmly so that you pull up the tension a little bit in it. But the turn we're going to make is going to have 3 beads on it. So we lost a bead on that row, and we're going to gain it up here at the top. So here we go. We're going to pick up 3 beads, a 4506, a 2 millimeter, which is, we're using the true 2s for this. So we could use an 8 here if you wanted, and another 4215. Okay. So our thread comes through these 3 beads, and we're going to take our thread, our needle, and come right back through that 4506. So here's where that turn where I want everybody to kind of be paying attention to what's happening. It's super easy to get those beads up here and then say, oh, I just need to go through that bead. Next down. No, you don't. you need to go back through this one we added here. So you can see it creates that little sort of diagonal step up. It's moving away and it's starting to lift it a bit. We could do this 2 millimeter in an 11 if you wanted, but again, it's nice to have a little bit of visibility. So that's a conscious choice to have it in that true 2 or an 8 millimeter. So then you're going to work your way back down. We're still going to stick with 42/15s. We're going to pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through the next bead, and work our way all the way down. Now, getting down to the bottom again, it's going to look kind of tempting to go through this bead, to add a bead here and go through here. But we're only going to add 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, no, that was 1. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The added bead comes in the turn, okay? So we're still going to have 6 beads in a row, but the added bead in this case comes from the turn. So we are stopping here and coming out, and this is where we're going to put another 2 millimeter and another one of those 45/06s and turn around and work our way back up. So we've decreased here and increased at the top. I'll let that settle in there. Kate, you have any questions?
No, I think we're good. I think people are looking good. What Kelly said here, which I think is cool, she says she's attempted practice swatches of even and odd count. And she's going to file this as a to-do in the future, kind of a,
I think that's a great idea.
mini. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I would do, Kelly, is I would try and do both halves and not just do one half, because it's super exciting to see it kind of begin to take shape and come through on the other side. I really enjoyed it. So this is one of those things. This is the chart that kicked my butt for days, and it was difficult, I have to tell you, and it went through 5 or 6 revisions. But this is what I just spelled out for you, but continuing its way all the way through all of the beads that we need to have. Okay. We have 2 colors, the 42/15, which is the more metallic green, the 45/06, which is the Picasso, and we have the true 2, and that color is olive gold rainbow. And there's plenty in the pack for these 2 earrings. In fact, you probably could get 2 pairs of earrings out of the true 2 pack. I know that those are a pricier bead, and so you want to make sure they are spent well. Again, I made a little legend over here that shows you that these ones are ones that are in the regular rows. These are the increased beads. Okay, there's my stopper bead, and I thought it was helpful to kind of color in bead number 1. This is the first bead that I put on my thread, and it centers with 1, 2, 3 beads across the middle portion of the design. That's why these 2 are not quite mirror images of one another. This one's a little smaller because it's actually going to nestle. If we moved it right over here, it would actually fit right inside. Okay. So last bit is what we're going to do on Friday. Once you have completed one side, my challenge to you is to go ahead and complete the second side, and then we'll join them up together. This loop at the top gives us a little place to hang our ear wire from. We could make it smaller or larger, depending on your personal choice. I do a double pass of thread through that loop so that it's fairly strong. And I think we're using KO thread for this, but whatever thread you pick, your favorite, will work just fine. Okay. All right. Let me just show you what that looks like again on our actual size. So here's our leaf. Here's actually bead number 1 right here. Okay. Bead number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way down. There's the center point of the leaf. So there's my first turn. Okay. And I worked my way back up, did 1 row with no change. So just the, is it 42/15, and came all the way down, and then did my first change at the bottom and worked my way back up. And here's my very first increase. So these guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these true twos go right along the inside edge, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think, on the outside edge. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right.
All right, looks good.
And I thought I would do these with some of the beads that we have used for the seed bead kit, seed bead school kit. You know, choosing a few beads that are easy to see for something that you're practicing, I think makes a ton of sense. And it really does make things just easier to look at. I chose some blue and white, and I picked up a purple thread. If you want to use a red thread or a blue thread or something that's really contrasting that you can see pretty clearly, I think that's a really great idea. Okay.
Looks
So we've
good.
got my group of 14 beads right here. I chose an orange bead for a stopper bead. It was just one that was floating around in my beading tray. And it's, I think, always worthwhile to double check your count when you're doing peyote stitch. It's a bummer to have the wrong count and have to fix it after you've done your first stitch or two. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 beads. This is another great illustration too of how uneven beads can be. I should have edited out this blue bead right here. See how skinny it is? And white beads tend to be a little bit fat. It's just the process of manufacturing. I would suspect that it's actually based on the way that the glass behaves. Now I picked up a teal bead.
And
And
could you
another
lower that camera just a
Sure.
little bit, if you don't mind? There we go.
It's actually easier. I don't have to hold my hand up out in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I picked up a teal bead and a white bead. So this is going to be my first turn, and that'll give me my center point at the bottom of my leaf. I skipped a bead, which is that white bead, and I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to end up with, interestingly, looking like a little picot at the bottom. So, you know, this is actually something you could do on your regular even or odd count peyote if you wanted. You can actually make a little picot on the edge, and it's kind of hides the thread, and you can do it all in one step. So it's another nice little advantage to this. Let me grab a little pinch of beads here to have. So I'm going to pick up a bead, skip a bead, that's the white one, and go through the next bead, which is the blue. And remember, this may feel a little bit loosey-goosey to you the first row that you do, and that's as per usual, as per normal. Okay. So row 1 and 2 was the 14 beads that I put on to begin with. This is actually row 3. And I frankly hate counting rows, so that's the last of that you'll hear from me. I go right along. And for this particular project, I'm not going to make an increase at the top of this row because I want this to be the center of my leaf. And I'll need to do another one on the other side the same way, okay? Now, the other nice thing about a stopper bead is you can slide it to the beadwork, and that helps give it some firmness, okay? So now, going down, I'm just going to use blue beads. So let me grab a pinch of those. And again, when you pick up a bead on your needle, it's a really good idea to take a look at the bead. These beads are pretty thin compared to the white beads, which is going to give me a little bit of, maybe a little bit of curvature to my work just to begin with here, but not too much. Okay. So as you can see, I'm stitching vertically. I'm going to go work my way down and turn around and come up. And just to keep myself on track here, I'm going to do 6. I know I'm going to do 6 beads. That in itself will give me a decrease at the bottom, right? Just not going to stitch through that next bead. This will feel like I should go there, but I'm not going to go there. All right? I'm going to do the same turn I did last time, which is to pick up a teal bead. So this would be the true 2, and then my white bead, which is going to be the bead that's going to snuggle in there, right? I'm going to skip a bead, that's the down bead, go through the next bead. And again, that gives me that little picot hanging out to the side. Okay.
Nice. So that true 2 is, pardon me, always added on the bottom.
And on the top.
Or always added, right? So it's the first and the last bead.
It's the first and the second. I'm sorry, that's going to sound very confusing.
Okay.
Wait till I get up to the top again. Hold on.
Okay, gotcha.
Needle came unthreaded.
I just want to make sure I'm getting it right.
Yeah, and don't forget to wax your thread. There was some talk about this on the bead group as well the other day, and I tend to wax my thread after I've threaded my needle on, but before I start stitching. Okay. So can you see that curvature that's happening to that? That is because those blue beads are a little bit thin. So I'm going to pull it straight. I don't want it to curve. It gives me a little more looseness in between my beads. That's okay. I can live with that. So here's the second weird turn. I'm going to continue to stitch with the bead I was stitching with. So those white beads, I'm going to pick up a white bead. I need a true 2, or in this case, a teal bead. And then I know that the bead I'm going to be stitching with next is going to be this blue bead. So I'm going to put that one on. So that's our 3 colors of beads, or 3 types of beads that we're working with. I've got those beads on my needle and thread, and I'm going to go back through the white bead. Pull it up snugly. And again, I end up with a picot on the end. I'm going to turn it so that that true 2 is in the inside of the leaf, okay? It doesn't really matter too much yet, but when I get back up to that spot, I want to make sure that the true 2 is on the inside of the work, heading towards the middle of the leaf. I'm going to go ahead and pick up another blue bead, and I'm going to start my way back down. Oops, sorry. And really, even after that first stitch, things get a little bit more evened up already. This was one that I didn't want to do with my big practice beads because it gets really wobbly when the thread does not fill up the bead hole. In this row, I'm adding 5 more because I added one already up in the beadwork. Okay, when I made that turn, see that guy? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one is 6. Ready for that turn again? So
ready.
One above where I might think I'm going to go. I'm not going to include these guys down here. Those are used up. So I'm going to pick up a teal, which would be a true 2, and a white bead. Because the last row was blue, that means this row is going to be white. Slide, pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through the next bead. By golly, it actually came out right. Right? Pick up another white one. Ugh. My pesky needle came unthreaded. Let me thread up again. Hold on. I know this happens to you too, so periodically you may want to trim the end of your thread nice and clean, and needle my thread. And I think I will treat myself to a little wax. Because the reason that needle was falling off was there wasn't any wax on the thread. Okay. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through the next bead. And there's more to that sentence, you know. If you wanted to be really official about it, you'd say pick up a bead, skip a down bead, go through the next up bead. That would help keep you on track. Even better. Right? And there we go. Okay, I've completed that row. And I need a few more teal beads, or white beads, actually. Okay. So here's another turn, an increased turn, and pick up a white bead, a teal bead, which would be a true two, and a blue bead. Slide those down. I'm going to put my needle back through the white bead and only the white bead. That's the closest one to the group. See how nicely that one went? Because it's got a little something to hang on to there. And I'm going to pick up now blue beads, working my way down.
And since this is kind of I mean, it's an earring, right? So
yeah,
it's going pretty darn quick, actually.
You know what? I think you'll be surprised at how fast this works up. It's kind of nice that you have a finite amount of work to do here. You don't have to fit this to anything. You just have your own sensibility to do. You can make this narrower if you wanted. There we go. I've got 6 beads added. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way. And I'm ready for the turn again. So I'm picking up a what would be a true two. That row is blue. That means this one's going to be white. Skipping that down bead back through the blue bead. How are you doing, Kate? Are you rocking with this?
Yeah, I'm actually just starting. I'm just going through your instructions here. So
okay.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
I thought you would be just popping along with this and you'd say, here's mine done.
Here's one done. Yes. Soon, very soon.
Yeah. Go right along.
And the true two, Grace is asking just to ascertain, a true two bead is about the size of an 8/0, right? So we could substitute an 8/0 for the true two. Is that right, Em?
You absolutely could. You know, you could actually put an even bigger bead in there if you really wanted to. You could put a 6. It may kind of distort the interior and the exterior a little bit more. I wanted to have that true two on that bottom edge because I just thought it was so pretty to have, you know, in the idea that this is kind of that autumn kind of a leaf motif, that it had that little bit of sparkle down there. True twos, and I hope you guys know this, that beads are measured across the diameter of the hole. So when you say an 8 millimeter round bead, that means from hole to hole is 8 millimeters. So it could be a square and still be an 8 millimeter bead, but you would say it was an 8 millimeter square bead. Okay. So ovals, teardrops, things like that are usually given both measurements. It might be 6 by 8 or 4 by 8 as a size. But the true two, that measurement is the 2 millimeters from hole to hole, which is about what an 8 millimeter bead is, roughly. So though either one would fit in there pretty nicely. A size 10 seed bead might be even closer, but that's kind of a bead you don't see very often anymore. It'd be a check seed bead, but it'd be just a bead you just don't see as commonly as an 11, an 8, and a 6. So I'm ready to make that turn again. It's that wonky, uncomfortable turn. So I was stitching with white beads. I'm going to pick up a white bead, a teal bead, which is going to be equal to my true two, and a blue seed bead. That's going to be the next row that I do. Okay. I'm going to go back through skipping 2 in this case, back through that white bead, heading down the row. So see what happens, that teal one needs to be on the inside, but it kind of flips around a bit. So it's okay for it to do that now until I get to actually stitching through that blue bead. But I always take a little moment to kind of push it into position. I really want it to sit up and do right there. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stitch this row with all one color, just like the rows before, all one color. I think that when I do my ombre, I'm going to do the ombre only in one row, one pass. The other rows are going to be a solid color. So I'm really having fun. I was going through all my bead stash yesterday or the day before and looking at seed beads. I kind of have a lot, but I've got some great color ombres that I'm kind of excited about playing with. So I'm going to use a true 2, which is that teal bead, and the white bead. That's my next row color. Skip that down bead and go through the next bead. I hope I'm not putting everyone to sleep with my
No, it's looking good, Em.
boring voice here, going right along. So what is nice too, I think, about this, doing this little bit of beading in between, it gives you a little bit of satisfaction that you're doing something, not a turn. As if that turn makes you panicky or you're worried about doing it. It's always kind of nice to have a little break in between, right? And my last one. All right, I'm ready for that turn again. I'm going to grab just a few more beads. And like I said before, if you have doubts about what bead's going to kind of come next or how you're going to do this, before you stitch, get your beads in line. Pick them up, put them in the row in the order that you're going to use them, just like that. Okay, so I know those are the beads I'm going to use. I know that's the order. Now I can just go ahead and pick them up. Teal bead, blue bead, and back through the white bead, skipping those other 2. Now I know my row is going to be a bunch more blue, 5 in fact, so I can put 5 blue beads down. And then I don't really have to think about this at all. I just pick up the beads and go. That's one way of beading a new project or a new stitch that you haven't used before. It does get you to think about it right before you do it, which I think is almost always a good thing.
Yeah, get those beads all lined up so they just go right in where you want them.
Right. And this speeds thing could even speed things along a little bit. You just don't have to think about it. Just pick them up and go.
And are you working on the left side of the leaf or the right side of the leaf?
I'm working on the right side.
Okay.
So my stopper bead.
Gotcha.
Normally, if I was normally peyoteing, my stopper bead would always be in the lower left-hand corner. So that if I put my work down and I don't know what I've done, it's been in a Ziploc bag for a week because I did some traveling or something, that I can always pull it out and orient myself by where the stopper bead is. Stopper bead's in the lower left-hand corner. I know that this is right side up, and I know where I have to go next. I know I've talked about this before, but when I was first mastering peyote stitch, I shouldn't say learning it, but mastering it, I had multiple times where I was learning to do things in peyote stitch in the round, and I would work on it at home in the evening, and then I would get up in the morning and go to work and come back and have cooked dinner and then want to start up again. And I would pick up my needle thread, and I would stitch in the wrong direction. And I'd suddenly have 2
Yeah,
steps.
I've done that too. Yeah.
and I would sit there and look at it for an hour trying to figure out what I had done wrong. And it wasn't until I figured out that I was going the wrong way. Instead of going around clockwise, I picked it up and started stitching counterclockwise, which is an easy mistake to make, I think. So I used to actually leave my beadwork with the next stitch in place, not pulled through, but I would make the next stitch and I would leave it like that. that way I knew that when I went to pick that up again, all I had to do is finish that stitch, and then I was kind of on my way. And that gave me a good habit of doing that. Okay. All right. So there's that turn. I did it without saying. There's that true two and my white beads, because my last row was blue, so I'm definitely on to white now. Let me do a little housekeeping here. One moment. Gosh, I don't know where we'd be without those silly triangles. I tell you, I probably have 20 of them, and
right?
I love them. It's the
Me too.
I don't know how expensive they are anymore, but I know they used to be like $1, and they were the best.
Not very. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not very expensive. That's for sure. So essentially, the true two that you're adding is is kind of like a picot.
It forms a picot, and the true two definitely shows a bit more than the just a regular seed bead does. 11. If I was using an 8 here, you'd see it even more. Let me grab a sample that I was working on, and you guys are gonna laugh because it was a sample that I was working on to show myself where those beads and colors were all laying. Talk about colors.
Oh yeah, can you get a little closer to that, Em, so we can look at it? There we go.
So if I pick this up, I can show you a little bit better. In the middle, that white bead is bead number 1. Okay. And then the two blue beads on either side of that, those are the first rows where I turned and didn't make an increase at the top. And then after that, I did, just like we have been doing, white alternating with the teal. And instead of the teal bead being the odd man, it's the white bead. So here's my turn, my first turn, and going back up, and then that big blue bead, and then coming back down. So the picot is formed by a light blue and a teal. And then going back up to the top, that turn at the top is 1 teal, a red, and a black. Turning back around, coming back down. So I had to do this so that I could see the colorway as it developed and how it worked. It's not I don't think it's quite the prettiest thing that you ever did see. But playing on that same thing of opaques and brights, I thought this one came out kind of cute. Right?
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, kind of fun.
Yeah, they have a very kind of bright, traditional African seed bead feel.
You know, they also felt sort of harlequin-ish to me. And maybe it's the point at the bottom, which is a little different, you know. I could see coming back into these and doing fringe from them, right? Down all these.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Really pretty. And add a lot of movement to it. But you're right, it does have a little bit of an African feel to it with the primaries. It's one of my favorite colors. You guys know that. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go along until we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beads in our accents. So we're almost there. Just gonna pull back just a little bit so I can get my hands under there. Actually, a little bit more. Sorry. There we go. So this is just one side. What I would expect you to do between now and Friday is get that one side built. And if you really feel confident, go on to the next side. But let me show you how I want you to finish off one side at a time, okay? So we have white bead, teal bead, blue bead. We're going to slide that down and pass through the white bead. The choice of how many beads I started with, this 14 down, is completely arbitrary. We could have made this strip narrower if we wanted, or wider. But I would stay with even count, not to give yourself too many fits with 2 different turns, even more complicated at the turn.
And Janice is asking, and you answer this when you feel it's the right time to do it, but she's saying, can you use a bugle bead across the top where the ear wire goes? Not a really long one, but maybe a short one?
Sure, why not? Oops, I picked the
Yeah,
wrong.
you could put anything across.
Yeah, absolutely.
There, right?
I picked the wrong color. I tried to sneak out, and it went badly for me. It never.
That's okay. I'll put some questions up.
All right.
Also, there was a comment from Kim that says, add a tiny tassel in the first row.
Oh,
that would be cute, right?
You know, you could add a tassel, Kim, instead of this bead down here.
And to show again, sorry, I was blocking you.
That's right. We could add a tassel instead of that bead right there. Or you could add a big enough bead that you could put the tassel, the rings or tassel through the bead, which might be even a sleeker way to go. But yes, Kim, that's totally doable. Wow, I was about to make the same mistake again, you guys. Did you see that? I had that wrong bead on my needle, even. Eesh. Ay, caramba. That's one that I say about 1,000,000 times.
All right, I'm going to try this again. My first ones were incorrect. I'm putting this aside and I'm cutting. I think I'm not adding enough beads at the turn. I'm not.
Okay. Should be 2 at the bottom and 3 at the top.
Yeah, I was wrong.
It's okay. You're fine.
That's okay. I am learning along with everybody else.
Look at that. I put the wrong beads on. No one stopped me.
Well, we're all so mesmerized.
Well, I hope I've got everybody hypnotized.
Right, Gita's saying, just put it in the jar. Janice is also saying here, could you add a small soldered ring and then hang a charm or briolet off the bottom? You could add just about anything you wanted, and that would be that bead number 1, right?
That would be the first bead of the turn.
Of the turn, right. So the first,
yep, for the center.
First true 2, yeah.
Right. Yeah, you could add a wire-wrapped briolet. I got to tell you, well, it's not too bad of a place to put it. When you add a lot of things kind of hanging off while you're in process, it can kind of make you a little crazy with tangling your thread.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had my druthers, I would want to add a bead here that I could add a jump ring to. So an 8 or a 6 or something that wasn't so catchy, if that makes sense. If you did it with something that like a tassel is going to be hanging out here, or a wire wrap or something, I just feel like it's going to be a lot of tangling and untangling as we're going along, which is not my favorite part, I will admit. Untangling thread is it has its purposes. It's like sorting out a mix of beads, but it's not my most favorite thing in all the world to do. Okay. All right. So this is my last increase turn. And I did this process a couple of different ways to see which one I liked the best. And I felt that if I left this increase turn as my last one, 1, 2, 3. Oops, I did one too many. Sorry, let me take that off. I felt that if I did that increase turn, gosh darn it. Look at that magic. I'm going to go back. Taking a big step back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my last one. And I felt that if I did that increase turn that last increase turn, and didn't put a row of beads out here, that it would look a little scrawny. Or
and
something.
could you get that a little more center, Em?
Sure. How's that?
There we go.
So in all of these, I actually went in and added in a row of beads that has no increase at the top. So I pulled that row out so that you could see what I was talking about. And I meant to talk about this when I got to that point, but we were talking about tassels and I don't know, whatever else we were just talking about. Food. Isn't it getting to be lunchtime?
Right.
So I am going to go ahead and make this turn as per usual. The bottom of the strip here. Oops. Wrong way. There we go. Another thing about those true twos, they do help keep you on track. Okay.
It's a really pretty bead.
The true twos?
Yeah.
I concur. I'm actually going to make that turn, last turn, stitch a row in and not do anything else to it. I'm not going to make an increase at the top. And I'll show you that I just think it looks a little more full. So see how that's
and again, Em, let's get a little more center. Sorry. I'm going to keep, that's all right.
How's that?
Good.
This just looks a little bit bare to me. So adding that last row, but no turn, I think makes it look a little more full and finished on that edge. So that's my advice to you. Your mileage may vary, you can choose. I'm going to go back down these beads and weave this tail of thread in. And I have been very thrifty with my thread today, thriftier than I meant to be.
Again, you're drifting a little further down, Em. There you go.
I can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah, I feel that.
Right? And I'm just gonna work through a couple of beads here. And then I can burn off my tail end.
And that's the half right there, right?
Right. And that didn't take too long, right? There we go. So flipping it over, and darn it if I don't have another one right here. I thought I did.
So you make the two bottom parts and then you connect them?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Nope.
Then I'll stop guessing.
Okay. You make one half, right? Here I am with one half.
Yeah, lay those two side by side so we can see.
I got a little bit of a tangle here in the thread, and
where the true twos are.
Right.
So can you see, everybody, how the true twos are on the top and the bottom edge? I know that teal and that blue are kind of close to see.
Oh, they're too close. I should have used orange or something. Bottom edge, top edge. Different shape, too, with not that true two. The true two pushes it a little bit wider, and my blue beads are a little bit narrower. All right. So here's my stopper bead over here, and I'm just going to slide it off. I don't need it anymore, but I'll reuse it. Don't throw it away. And now I'm ready to do the other half of this. So all I need to do is flip it over. So now I can just keep doing that same thing I just did. I don't have to think about these in two halves. And I think that was what was hurting my brain early on when I was doing this as a graph, that I was thinking that I needed to have both sides sort of done simultaneously. And you know what? They don't happen simultaneously, and they don't happen two pieces and then you join them together. It's all one. So there's my needle and thread. Took my stopper bead off, and I'm ready to go. Okay. I need some of the bronze beads, which
can you do this with the white one? It's just a little clearer to see with the blue and white, I think.
Do you want me to do it with the true two? Well, I can. Hold on a moment. Hold that thought. I didn't plan to go this far with this particular piece, and so it doesn't have enough thread. But hang on, I can fix that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think
That's all right.
I think it's a little clearer.
Okay. Do you want me to throw a true two in there so you can kind of see where the true
Sure.
two ends?
That'd be great. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Give me one moment, guys. I'm going to take a new piece of thread and put it on a needle.
No worries.
And I'm going to make that other piece of thread disappear. A little bit of wax.
So what I'm doing here, all while you're getting that prepped, I'm going to go ahead and add. So here, whoops, sorry, you guys, that wasn't right. Let me get mine going on here. So what I was doing here is on this one, this is where I was goofing up. Get a little tighter. And I'm doing mine in the dark, so in the dark bead, so it's kind of hard to see. But down here at the bottom, I was doing my increase, or I wasn't adding my bead on. So I was getting, so if you look at the leaf itself, so that's why when I did a few rows and I was looking at it, I was all, oh, that's not right. I was forgetting to add this extra bead here at the bottom. So all of my true twos were being scrunched up. So don't forget to add that increase bead at the bottom here so you don't screw yourself up. You can see I was doing that all wrong. So that's why I'm starting over. Look at your directions. One start down.
That's okay.
One start down.
So I dealt with my old thread. I wove it in. And now I'm going to weave in a new thread. The easiest thing to do with weaving in a new thread is remember where you want to be coming out of. I'm going to come out of that guy right there. Right? So I'm going to weave in and change directions a couple times. And peyote stitch is weaving on the diagonal anyway. So I'm going to pick up just a few beads on my needle. I've got about 4, I think, there. And I waxed my thread, so it should slide through there nicely. It does. And don't worry about any little bit of wax buildup. That'll all disappear. Okay. And in this case, you can actually pull it quite far down to the end. And that's changing directions, going through the bead right next door. So the thread's now overlapping itself. And I'm going to change direction again. And this time, I'm going to work my way over to the edge a bit because I know that all I have to do is kind of go up and down 2 at a time. And this will take care of getting me to the right position. I want to be coming out of bead number 1. That was it right there. So the acid test as to whether your thread is woven in is if you pull and see that tail.
Go a little more center stage. There you go.
When you pull on your thread and that tail doesn't move, you are absolutely woven in with a new thread. So you're golden. Clip or burn, your choice. Your mileage may vary, whichever makes you happy. And I will do a little tiny bit of housekeeping just to keep everything kind of tidy. This is why I put my beads so far up there, trying to remind me to keep me up there.
It's hard to stay in frame. When you're teaching, you're directing, you're doing all that, but you're doing a great job.
You're doing a great job too, Kate. Good job.
We got this. Good job, us.
All right. I'm going to start down with a row of blue. And remember, this is the first row in the turn, after the turn, the flip of the sides. And just like the last time, that first row that I did from the top going down, I wanted to do it just no increase at the top. And this is giving me a symmetrical center. Most leaves are symmetrical in nature, but we're actually not doing something in nature, so your leaves don't have to be so symmetrical. You know, sometimes you look at more decorative leaves and they're not symmetrical in nature. Although I look at leaves a lot and I think about them often, they are mostly more symmetrical than not. So it's your choice. And these aren't really leaves.
And is
These are,
this row 3 you're doing now, Em?
this is row 3. No, actually row 4.
Row 4, okay.
Row 4. Okay. So I'm ready to do the turn again. Talking changing colors from teal or from blue to white. Okay. Oh, I was going to do a true 2 in here, wasn't I? Just for kicks. Let's get these green ones.
Mm-hmm. So we could see where
you can see where
you're
that
adding
position
it.
ends. Right? Skip a bead, go through the next bead. All righty. Now it's peyote time. And I can see a little looseness in this row. That blue bead's kind of pulling away. It's okay. I'm going to go in and pull on those 2 beads at the end, the true 2 and that white bead, and then tighten it up again. And that should help get myself kind of snuggled back in there. And the true 2s fit in this design really beautifully. They just fit right in that spot with just a little bit of push out. So gives it a little bit more dimension. All right. Oh, we're doing good on time, Kate, right?
Yep, we're doing just fine.
All
We got
right.
about 10 more minutes, Em.
Perfect. Well, I wanted to do at least one turn here. Maybe I'll get 2 with the true 2s in. So I've been stitching in white. I'm going to do white again, true 2, and blue. That's the new color of that row going down. If it wasn't white, it had to be blue. Again, this feels like it's a little loose. Oh, and look what I did. I totally made the mistake that I told you not to make. And I'm not going to stitch back through. I'm going to try and do as I say, not as I do. That's hard. And I'm still a little tangled. All right, I'm going to unthread my needle. Let me show you where I made my mistake.
Yes, please
I got
do.
cocky. That's what happened. I'm starting to hear some little doggy noises outside my closed studio door. They're not used to not being able to come in here. There's a very
That's
small
right.
woof. There was a very small little woof. So when you add these 3 beads for the turn, remember that you're going to go back through this white bead. I actually skipped over and tried to go through that guy, and it went poorly. It's not what I wanted to do. But it's easy to do because you get complacent about your peyote stitch. And sorry about the barking dog in the background. Maybe you can't hear him. Maybe you can. That's Roscoe. He's barking at a delivery man of some kind, no doubt. All right. Oh, Roscoe, I know you want to go out there and chase cars. That's fine. All right. So I'm going to continue stitching blues. And we'll get 2 more turns in here so you can actually really see where those true 2s are going.
Great, and get a little more center, Em. You're out of frame. There we go.
That one's really skinny. Oh, our furry friends who want our attention all the time. You know, with this pandemic stuff, being at home a lot, boy, I don't know how they're going to take it when we have to actually go back to real work, huh?
I know, they get used to it, don't
They
they?
get super used to it. You know, they want to just be able to go out anytime they want. Okay. And I think these whip up fairly quickly. How are you doing, Kate?
I'm okay, slow,
I
but
know
I'm
you're not
getting
a
it.
fast, I know you're not a fast seed beater.
I'm not, but your directions are really excellent.
Oh, good.
So that's why I'm kind of coming in. Let's see.
All right, one more time into the breach here. All right, I'm going to pick up a white, a true 2, and since I'm changing directions, I'm going to pick up a blue. So that's going to be my. Ugh, that bead is too skinny. Okay. And this is going to get me turned around. Back through that white bead and on down the row.
You just have to remember if you're adding one, you're taking one away.
Yeah, because really everything stays the same. We're just working on that diagonal direction.
Yeah.
Boy, it sure
That's the
does make a
thing.
difference. Look at the difference in this is very interesting to do this actually, with the true 2s and the 11s in one piece. Because look at the shape change that I've got going here. The 11s are very the diagonal is very crisp and very kind of narrower, and over here they're not going to end up lining up too well, right? Because those true 2s are bigger. So it's a very interesting little exercise here to mix the beads like this. Get over there, you. Very interesting indeed. So that's where I'm going to leave you guys this week or today. We're going to come back on Friday and do the other part of this, the joining up. And I am super excited to see what you come up with in the next day or two. And I'm sure there'll be some stuff happening on the bead group. I will be on the bead table. I'll be watching for it. And sort of see where you land with this excitement. And I hope you enjoy it. I mean, I find seed beading very mesmerizing, and it definitely kind of sucks up some of my brain. And that's good these days when we're all struggling with being kind of in lockdown and not having as much entertainments as we're used to having.
No, this looks great. And I will show you on mine, I'll put myself front and center, that I have figured out. There I am.
There you are.
Here we go. Here I am. It's kind of hard to see, but I now have finally figured out the decrease on the bottom, the increase on the top.
Yep.
So you add that third bead when you're doing that turn up at the top, and you stop short one on the bottom, and that makes your angle. Do you like that visual? My angle.
It feels very Devo for some reason. I don't know.
Very, totally. So here, so we've got yours. So so show us with the earring, Em, what we're gonna finish up again next week.
So we're gonna get I don't have one. You know, it's funny. I don't have all the ones I don't have pieces of. I don't have one where it's not joined up.
Right.
All the other parts. We're gonna finish just the leaf, the 2 diagonals, and stop. And then I'll show you. I'll walk you through the join up. I like to.
And the join up is that across?
Yes.
Right.
Yep. And that gives you dimensionality, right? And shape.
Kind of helps the leaf kind of fold, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll talk about what you might want to do if you wanted to do veins down the middle. Because I might do more beads here. And I'll finish one to that stage. I thought I had one. I guess not. I thought I had another part, but I must not have one. My magic oven is not working. We can make that opening bigger. This opening here bigger. And add the vein down the middle and some other little veins if you want to make a really realistic leaf.
That'll be cool.
And I'll talk a little bit about other little add-ons that you can change down here at the bottom. So if you want to have this more formed like an oak leaf, we can actually make it look a little bit more oak leaf-like.
Oh, that'll be cool. That'll be great. Well, it's a really great, I'm going to pull this demo cam out and let's put you and I up. There we go.
Here we
Okay.
are.
It was really great. I will also say here, let me go and throw this one up. If you go right to beadshop.com, you guys, and you go to our live broadcasts, see, since this is live on Wednesday, October 21st, you'll see this is called the Diagonal Peyote. You'll find the recipes for both of these projects, as well as Emily's really fantastic handout. So thank you so much. The handout is great, That's what I have been, that's what I've been following. And
Good.
you guys also, don't forget to follow us on social. Drea's doing a great job putting different sneak peeks and up there of kind of fun things that we've got going along here at beadshop.com.
I meant
So
to add
thank you.
Hey, Kate, I meant to add a couple of recipes. Is it too late to add them, or can I put them in is there a file?
No, you can always do it. You can always send them to Drea if that,
Okay.
or you can just post them with the hashtag beadshop eats for sure.
Okay. I got a couple of good ones if you're looking for desserts.
Oh.
I love baking, and so I've got a couple good ones that are pretty tried and true crowd pleasers.
Well,
sure.
you know, we always like a dessert. That's for darn sure.
I know. Unfortunately, one of them is full of gluten, so sorry.
Well,
The other one's
that's
GF,
all right. Okay, so Caitlin is saying she's getting started. OMG, she can't wait till Friday. Bye, Emily. Bye, Kate. Bye, Janice. She's done. She's out. She's like, I'm out. Right?
Go get it, Caitlin.
Right. All right. Well, Em, we will see you on Friday. Thank you so very much. Thanks for everybody for hanging in. Go to Bead Shop and you can download that really great handout. Thank you so much, Emily. It's super, super helpful.
And feel free to draw on that handout. I didn't make you to draw on, so this is the one you get to draw on.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, we'll be back on Friday for Free Tip Friday, and we'll finish with a bunch of tips on how to put this together, how to make it more leafy, all of that great stuff. So thank you as always, Emily. And remember, you guys, we are continue to mask up, wash those hands, social distance, and above all, vote. It's voting season. Okay, kids, thank you so very much. And I will see you back with Emily on Friday for beadshop.com's Free Tip Friday. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.